This is Mr. James. Can I just tell you that I would so much rather be back in the classroom right now than be recording these videos in my basement. But you know what? Complaining has never done anyone any good. And so I'm just going to keep doing my job and doing the best that I can to provide you with high quality instruction. And so this is reading lesson 11. We're going to continue reading Pedro's journal today. As you should be well aware, our enduring understanding is that learners understand that explorers have had both positive and negative effects on society. And our essential question continues to be about quoting accurately from text when comparing and contrasting themes and topics. Make sure you are doing that in your right and response reading questions. Today, our objective is I can use details to compare and contrast elements in a story. So we're going to be looking for some similarities and differences between different story elements. That might be setting or characters or plot. And we're going to look at some of the ways in which those elements are similar and some of the ways in which those elements are different. So as we're listening to the text today, we should be looking for those similarities and differences as we go, because that's what our questions will focus on. So we're going to start on page 78 and read through page 83. Make sure you have a book in front of you and you are ready to follow along, or you can follow along on the screen if you would prefer that.
October 12th. A lush green island was there in the morning, and our 3 ships approached it carefully, maneuvering through breakers and a threatening barrier reef. We could see clear down to the reef in the sparkling blue waters as we sailed through. And it is truly land, truly earth here so far from Spain. The Santa Maria led the way into the sheltered bay of the island and got a mark of only 5 fathoms depth. We anchored there and barely paused to admire the breathtaking beauty. Small boats were prepared, armed and lowered, and in these some of us went ashore. Out of respect, all waited while Christopher Columbus leaped out of the boat, his feet the first to touch this new land. I wondered what my mother would say if she knew her son had lost the 10,000 maravedis to the captain who claimed it for himself. The captain carried the royal banner of our king and queen, and as everyone else scrambled out of the boats and secured them in the white sand, he thrust the banner into the earth and then sank down to his knees and said a prayer of thanksgiving for our safe arrival in India. Others dropped to their knees around him. Diego was beside me, and he clapped his hand on my shoulder. I knew he was happy to be on land again. I was too. Although I have been at sea so long that even on land the ground seems to buckle and sway beneath my feet. The captain made a solemn ceremony and formally took possession of the land for the king and queen, naming it San Salvador. We all witnessed this, and then little by little we noticed something else. There were people stepping out from the trees. Beautiful, strong, naked people with tanned skin and straight black hair. My mother would have lowered her eyes or looked away, as I have seen her do in our home when someone dresses. But I could not take my eyes off them. Some had boldly painted their bodies or their faces, some only their eyes, some their noses. They were so beautiful and gentle. They walked towards us slowly but without fear, smiling and reaching out their hands. The sailors watched them in wonder, and when these people came near, the crew gave them coins, little red caps, whatever they had in their pockets. Columbus himself showed one native his sword, and the native, never having seen such an instrument before, slid his fingers along the sharp edge and looked startled at his fingers that dripped blood into the sand. Everyone was smiling and so friendly. Close up, we could see how clear and gentle their eyes were, how broad and unusual their foreheads. The captain especially noted and said to one of his men, "See the gold in that one's nose? See how docile they are? They will be easy. We will take 6 back with us to Spain. I think at this, too, my mother would have lowered her eyes. October 16th. So much has happened. There is so much to remember and record, and so much I do not think I want to tell my mother. Perhaps I will keep these letters to myself after all. The natives think that we are angels from God. They swim out to us, wave, throw themselves in the sand, hold their hands and faces to the sky, and sing and call to us. The crew loves it, and no one loves it better than Columbus. He lifts his open palms to them like a priest at Mass. I sometimes wonder if he doesn't believe these natives himself just a little bit. They come right out to the ship in swift dugouts that sit 40 men, and sometimes as they approach us, the dugout tips. But in minutes they right it and begin bailing it out with hollow gourds. All day long the Indians row out to see us, bringing gifts of cotton thread, shell-tipped spears, and even brightly colored parrots that sit on our shoulders and cry out in human voices. For their trouble, we give them more worthless beads, bells, and tastes of honey, which they marvel at. The 6 native men Columbus has taken aboard are not very happy. One by one they are escaping, which I cannot help but say I am happy for. One jumped overboard and swam away, and another jumped overboard when a dugout came up alongside us in the darkness. Some of the crew seized another man coming alongside in a dugout and forced him on board. Columbus tried to convince him of our good intentions through sign language, and broken words, and more gifts of glass beads and junk, and the man rowed back to some people on the shore. They stood talking to each other and pointing at our ship. Columbus smiled and was convinced they know we are from God. Me, I am not so sure they will believe it for much longer. December.
Sorry, we went ahead and we were stopping there on page 83. Go ahead and please open up your packet and answer the questions that are in there. And I will talk to you with our writing lesson a little bit later today. Have a great time until I see you again.